Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Maybe tonight, but
In that case, let's go ahead and get started. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part2. Joining me today is Rasco of Rasco's Modern Life. Hello, Rasco.
hey.
Hey. Anyway, we are continuing our series of historical film reviews, and I should have looked at this beforehand. This episode's going up on the 24th, I think, because got Nazi Legacy was posted on Saturday, or on the 17th, so this is going up the 24th, so I need to come up with a Christmas movie by the end of this. That's cool. I'll manage. Anyway, before we get into what we're discussing, even though it's in the description of the video and the title and all that, I just want you, the listener, to know... Rascal, what do I want the listener to know?
That you can listen to episodes at some place.
Where can they go to find the episodes to listen to?
I forgot. Where can they go?
It's in the description. There's a link.
Oh, it's in the description.
Yeah, there we go.
Go there.
I just wanted to quiz you. Yeah, there's a link in the description. Download this episode. Old episodes can be uploaded to that website by request for your downloading and listening pleasure. Just leave a comment on old episodes. If you need to know where to find an old episode, Rascal, where can they go to find an old episode of Geeky Gentlemen?
Down there in the link.
No.
Yes.
Nope. There's a Geeky Gentleman playlist. You can click on that and find all 340, 50-something of our episodes and leave a comment and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, Rascal, what are we discussing today?
We're talking about Titanic, the legend of the ocean!
Are you gonna, make everything into the legend of Elm Street or
I don't
something
know.
else?
It'll probably get replaced by something at some point.
Eventually, when you get bored of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will be talking about Titanic, which is, of course, the really famous James Cameron, Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet movie that came out in the late 90s. For a time... No, actually, I think it's still... I believe it's still the record holder for most Academy Awards. No, wait, I take that back. It's tied with Lawrence of Arabia for most Academy Awards, if I remember correctly. And it's funny because they have pretty much refused to give James Cameron an Academy Award after this movie came out. Because when he got, the 11th or something, the night Titanic came out, he was like, I'm the king of the world! And they just found that really snobbish, apparently.
Oh my god. Come on.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's really crazy that the Academy are really full of themselves. So Rascal, what made you want to pick Titanic?
Well, I love me some James Cameron.
Yeah? It's interesting because we have, obviously, conversations off recording people, just because it's not like we just stare blankly at each other quietly until we start recording. We, talk when we're done.
That's
and
exactly
just catch
what we
up. No, yeah, you're right. I spoiled it. No, but we have conversations, and a couple weeks ago, Rasco, Deadpoolzilla, and I were talking about James Cameron's film, Avatar, and how it's a movie that's more a science project than it is trying to be a good film. And I use the word good film as meaning the ideas of visual spectacle and fantastic storytelling. It's more just trying to push the boundaries of what you can do in film. Mm-hmm. And I watched this, the one that, won him all the awards in the world. And you know what? I cannot figure out why people love Titanic but think Avatar is like garbage because its story is really mediocre.
Really?
Like, I'll admit I maybe identify with the characters in this a little bit more, but they're certainly not unique. This is a story that's been done to death, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of what I like about it.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things about this movie is that the Titanic is really just the setting, and it's not really the story of how the Titanic sank as much as it is. That's just like the setting of the movie, and everything else is like this really almost unrelated story to the Titanic, and it's very personal. And then that just gets interrupted abruptly by, oh crap, this is the Titanic, and then the setting just becomes a danger, and that obviously impacts the story from that point on. But
see, actually, I think it's quite the opposite. I think we have kind of a really basic story that's meant to be kind of emotionally manipulative, and I do mean that in a good way, even though I usually use it negatively. It's meant to be kind of emotionally manipulative to get you as invested as you possibly could be in these characters so that you feel the impact and the loss of them as significantly as the people living at the time did. Mm-hmm. So it's meant to I don't think it's a love story set on the Titanic. I think it is the story of the Titanic. In that, yeah, this is obviously over-exaggerated, and there's like this whole diamond plot and everything. It's a very exaggerated story. But it makes you emotionally connect with people in a way that you usually don't when watching something that's like historical.
But everything I said, though, it doesn't necessarily... I'm not really disagreeing with anything you said, because all of that stuff is there to make you feel like you're watching a story that's unrelated to... Ultimately, this is the Titanic, but there's a lot of trappings there to try to get you to forget that almost. And then you're watching the movie, and It's so obvious. This is one of those things where, like, James Cameron just like, I'm going to put 1,010% into recreating exactly what I want people to see, because I always want to create the Titanic again. Like, I just love that about James Cameron, how he gets, like, so passionate about things, and even if you don't really, like his movies per se, he goes, like, all out every time. And emotionally manipulative, that's a very accurate way to describe James Cameron's later work.
Gotcha. Sorry, I got absolutely nothing of that because the battery on my speaker just died.
Oh.
Can you, like, quickly summarize your point?
Did you hear anything that I said, or...
Literally just the last sentence.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm trying to think about what I was saying.
Sorry,
I think I was saying, everything that you said about how, I don't disagree with you that all of that's there to really get you to care about people so that when they start to die, it really is impactful. Yeah, but, like, that's kind of, like, what I'm saying I like about it, is that, like, I think the way in which they try to go about doing that is almost trying to, like, kind of lure you into this, like, other story that you're almost, like, invested in, and you really want to see the ending of that, but then when the Titanic comes, or, like, when the events that we all know play out of the Titanic sinking, you're really like, oh my god, no, because I'm watching this other story over here, and I'm invested in and now you're interrupting me with this Titanic. Oh no, this is horrible. And it really creates a sense of, like, god damn it, why did this have to happen? But yeah.
Okay. Rasco, you can apparently not make this point.
Alright.
Because every time you do, some shit happens with my ability to hear you. So I apologize. But I think I know what you were getting at. That the idea that the story that we're seeing on screen is both very identifiable and very intriguing and interesting on its own, but it's also doing the things I was saying. Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, and I think that's all there, definitely intentionally, to get you really, really ready to be sad by the end of this movie when sad things start going down.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's an interesting mix of both of those things. And again, I just don't see how... Like, it's a well-told cliche story. Would you agree with me there?
Yeah, in many regards, yeah.
Okay, so maybe you can explain it to me. How is that any different than Avatar on a story basis?
That's where I think people are very hypocritical about Avatar when they criticize it for being like I've said, I don't not like Avatar. Avatar is one of my least favorite James Cameron movies. To be honest, Titanic is too. So for me, I think of Titanic and Avatar, and I probably lean towards Titanic a little bit more in terms of which one I like. But I do consider them very much in that same category of they're not necessarily amazing original stories, but there's a lot of effort and craftsmanship going into the making of both of them that makes them undeniably worth watching and impressive on multiple levels. But that's the thing. I'm not one of those people that really sees too much of a difference between Avatar and Titanic, whereas a lot of people talk like Titanic is the greatest shit ever and Avatar is the most cliche bullshit. And it's I don't...
Well, no, I mean, come the fuck on. This is the most cliche thing you could possibly think of. It's, she's a rich girl, and then she falls in love with a poor boy, and the rich asshole character, who is just completely unsalvageable as a human being by the end of this goddamn movie.
Yeah.
Everything about it is just over the top as hell.
Yeah.
In just how unabashedly cliche it is. And that's okay, because, the characters are certainly likable, the characters that you're meant to like, at least.
And can I say, the intelligence there, and I'll say this about Avatar, too, the actual interesting element of that combination of taking this typical love story and combining it with the Titanic, there's a very interesting combination there that is also there with Avatar, doing the man goes and lives with the natives story in outer space with aliens. That's actually a really cool combination, and I appreciate that. While they are doing something that's been done before, they're combining it in a way that makes it cool and interesting and worthwhile to see again, I would say. And what's cool about Titanic is that they do this story about the poor boy and the rich girl, but they do it in a very class-based setting where it is all about class and status, and in a time where that mattered a lot more. And I think that's at least an intelligent thing to pair it with.
Yeah, I agree, and I really like how how to put this? I like that she falls in love with an American, and, certainly class divisions exist and have existed in this country, but they were never as rigid as they were in England, where she's from.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting, and the whole way that this just parodies class and the mentality of how insane the Victorian era was going into the early 20th century, I find really fascinating too, because a lot of people say the Victorian era died at the beginning of the 20th century. I'm more of the opinion that the Victorian era died at the end of World War I, because there was still this up until World War I, there was still this gentlemanly warfare kind of thing, and a lot of the remnants and trappings of the Victorian era were still around. That being said, I like how this kind of just confronts it, and you just get these moments of just, fucking Christ, really, people? Just fucking really? I love the scene where they're starting to get the lifeboats down, and they still have quite a bit of time. And I should mention, I'm talking about this literally minutes after watching it. I like the moment where they get the lifeboats down, and they still have some time, and the builder of the ship, the designer of the ship goes, "Why are people inside? Why aren't they getting ready to be on the lifeboats? It's too cold for them." and like they go inside and everyone's wearing the life vests and they should realize some shit's about to go down, and instead there's a waiter going around asking anyone if they want a drink, and there's like, you know, a band playing and all this other stuff. I love just how just stupid it makes class look.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people are downstairs, you know, pulling at the bars trying to get out, and, you know, they don't get to because they're poor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree. And don't get me wrong, I don't love Titanic on a story level. I think it does a really good job of kind of building off of the point of class. I think it does a good job of getting rid of this idea of the stiff upper lip in the moment of extreme dire tragedy that is often associated with the Titanic. Overall, there's another Titanic movie, it's in black and white and all this stuff. Overall, I think that's a better film, but I like the actual sinking more, because it's just pandemonium. People are just monsters to each other, and that's all you could expect from them in that kind of moment. Whereas in a lot of the other versions, it's, they're prim and proper and they keep their manners up until the moment of death, and as the ship sinks, the men are singing in the background and all this other stuff. No, that's horseshit. We all know.
Oh my God, Jimmy, we gotta get off this boat right now! Get in the... That's... I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like there's the black and white film as the ship sinks, all the men sing like a bar song.
They kick their hats off.
Yeah, no. Everyone knows that's horseshit. I love just the absolute, and there are a couple people in this that do that, and that I can believe that some of them would. Yeah. Like, I like the guy who's like, no, I'm dressed like a gentleman, I'm gonna die like one, that's believable enough, but I like that the vast majority of people are holding on till the very end, trying everything they can to survive. Because it's realistic, and that, you know, those are the scenes that get me the way they're meant to get me. James Cameron is a director who understands how to emotionally manipulate you.
Yeah.
But in a very profound way.
Yeah, and I'd say, like, he does this kind of thing where he goes all out 100%, but he does that and, like, he tries to do that in every facet of the story, and that's why people always... I think people have noticed that there's a lot of similarities between Titanic and Avatar, and that, like, he's directing the shit out of stories that you wouldn't necessarily think people would remember as fondly if it weren't for the fact that he was directing the shit and pushing the boundaries of filmmaking while making them. And he does that, and it's really impressive, I have to say, and like that's the thing that's one of the reasons I really love James Cameron. While I do like some of his earlier stuff, that's what I can still appreciate about this movie and Avatar, is that like he's going all out. Yeah, and it's important to note that he's a director who he decides when he works, no one else. Yeah. He might be under contracts. I don't want to say anything that I don't know, but I would be shocked to find out he's under contracts with studios to do X number of films for them at a time. Yeah. I would be willing to bet you he has the chance to call up probably Fox first, because they've done the most business with him. But he has the opportunity to call up whoever he wants, studio-wise, whenever he wants, and there will be a movie in production within minutes. Hey. If he really wants to. Hey, it's your boy James. You know. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy with a lot of clout in Hollywood. Yeah. He's yet to have, at least, nothing's coming to mind, I might be wrong about this, he's yet to have a film bomb. Yeah, that's probably true. I don't know of any film that he's ever made that did not just do very well. Yeah. He's a sure thing as far as Hollywood's concerned. Did you ever watch Entourage? I know that he was in that show, and I know that like he was gonna in that show that he was gonna direct an Aquaman movie and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah. Like they actually have a scene from it play in one of the episodes, and
stuff, I'm just like, I really, really am curious if James Cameron actually directed that scene, because it's a really fucking cool scene. But yeah, just shit like that. It's really neat to see a filmmaker who is so talented. And this is one of the things where this is why I kind of say that story isn't everything in film, because on the books this story is not impressive. But you're right, he directs everything. He gets it so damn right. He knows exactly how to present a story in such a profound way that he can make you care more than you might actually on paper.
Yeah.
That being said, story aside, the thing I love about this movie, the thing that does attract me about this movie, and that why I wasn't interested in it when I was a kid, is the richness of detail that he gets in this. The way he shows the boat and ship, whatever. The way he shows everything, he makes sure to capture every single detail to perfection in such a way that it was almost 100 years after the Titanic sunk that this movie came out, 90-something. And yet, the resulting production values of this film recaptured the public imagination of the Titanic, so much so that museums started touring their exhibits on the Titanic again. Things were ripping off James Cameron's success and tying themselves to the Titanic and all this other stuff. Well, no, I'm not shitting you. I talked about this last episode. There are a couple of animated Titanic movies, and they're just god-awful, but they're just trying to capitalize on the fascination that existed with the Titanic at the time in the 90s. There were like rip-off Titanic movie video games.
Wow.
Yeah, so he managed to get all the details so just dead on. He was able to capture the feeling and it feels very authentic, even though parts of it are of course not, and that's Hollywood for you. It feels very, very incredibly authentic, even though it feels so authentic that you're willing to forgive it the little things that it gets wrong and just be able to sit there and experience it. That's what I freaking love, the way he captures this with so much passion.
Yeah. I love the way that he even goes out of his way to capture every time they alter their course or their speed. Mm-hmm. How he'll make sure that he shows them pull every lever and turn everything and crank the wheel. He goes and shows everything. I love that.
Yeah, he really does capture just the majesty of it all, but also the tiny details of every little thing that he can. With your point about all the levers, every time they do that, he shows every step of it. So you get a real sense of the time that it takes to do anything on the ship.
Yeah, he'll even cut to them throwing coal in the when they throw coal in the fire. He'll even cut to that in the engine room and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't know. You take us somewhere.
I think
it's a 3-hour movie, Rasco. You can't be out of things to say yet.
I think that one of the things that I think is actually kind of cool, and that I feel probably wasn't originally part of the movie, but that in the process of learning about the Titanic and actually exploring it when he actually went down in the crazy submarine shit, I think that is a lot of what actually probably led to him making kind of the framing device with Bill Paxton and the exploration team in the ocean and stuff like that. And that, so how do you feel about that framing device of setting it up where they go and they find her in old age and stuff like that to talk to her?
I liked it. It's interesting because if you ask James Cameron why he made Titanic, it's because he wanted the budget to go and explore the wreckage of the Titanic because he's fascinated by shipwrecks, and he knew the only way he could do that and not, completely drain his own funds at that point in time was to get Hollywood to make a movie with him. So it's just the most ridiculous thing. And he knew he had to do it while he was young enough to still go do it, right? So he just set it all up so that he could go have his little adventure. He's like, okay, I'll make a movie just because. And I find that really interesting. So you get kind of the passion, even though it's very brief glimpses of it, you get that passion that he has for shipwrecks and exploration of the deep sea. In those moments. I also really like the actress that plays Old Rose.
Yeah.
I don't know what her name is, but she sells that shit so well, dude.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the How It Should Have Ended of Titanic?
No.
Or
maybe I might have. I don't know.
I'm not sure if it's How It Should Have Ended, but there's like an animation where it's like they ask her about the heart of the ocean, and she tells them, oh, that reminds me of this story, and she starts going into all this detail, and they keep, like, interrupting her, like, wait, how would you know that? You weren't even, by your own admission, there. Like, with the card game at the beginning and all this other shit. It's really funny. But, interestingly, did you ever, I know you're a huge James Cameron fan, did you watch his documentary about the Mariana Trench?
No, actually. Actually, hold on. I think at one point in elementary school, I did.
You wouldn't
about
have.
the Titanic.
It was not that. It was not as recent as you being in elementary school.
Oh, okay. Well,
it was 2009.
Thing about James Cameron going to the Titanic when I was in elementary school.
No, he went to the Titanic. I'm asking about the Mariana Trench, which is in the Pacific. Yeah, he did like this. I'm pretty sure he shot it in 4K 3D, and he got the funding to do it by calling up Hollywood and asking them to help him make a movie. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure it's a Disney documentary. James Cameron, Mariana Trench, James Cameron, Deep Sea Challenge, maybe it's called. And it's hard to find this information right off. Deep Sea Challenge 3D.
Sounds like a video game.
Yeah. Yeah, so James Cameron, like, he is seriously such a deep-sea nerd that he, like, you know, went to Disney or whatever, or Nat Geo, maybe, I don't know, and asked for the funding to get submersibles and 3D 4K cameras and all this other stuff. Oh, it's an IMAX, my bad. And so it's just him in a submarine exploring the Mariana Trench. Interesting little factoid about the Mariana Trench. Fewer people have been there than have walked on the moon. Which is insane.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So it's just one of those interesting little things that this is a guy who really, really loves the deep, and so it's not surprising that he's fascinated by the Titanic. I don't know, man. It's crazy to see how he got this all together. I'm more impressed by the events surrounding the movie than I am the movie itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the history that we're shown in this?
What do you mean by that? Like,
just the way it presents the society at the time, what the norms were, all that stuff.
This is, like, the worst period that, I would hate to live in this time period. Like, this just seems like such hell. And I'm sure, honestly, I don't know, because I would have no way of knowing if at all this is, like, a heightened reality. Of course, it's more theatrical. But at the same time, society was kind of, like, the point was to kind of, like, think of yourself in such, like, high, like, you to have, like, such high standards that you're almost inhuman, almost. Like, that's kind of what it's like, I would imagine, to live as, like, an aristocrat. Like, it just sounds like hell. And it's really sad.
And that's probably why we identify so much with Rose in this movie, because of she clearly doesn't want that life. Right from the beginning of the flashback stuff, she says, I was screaming. To me, the Titanic was a slave ship, all this or prison or whatever. There's clearly a lot of identifying with that, and she finds the good in the commoner and all that stuff. It's a very well told, very cliche story, as we've firmly established.
And one thing about it could have been easy for him to accidentally make her seem really unsympathetic, like, oh, I'm part of high society, I'm all rich, and I just don't like it. Like, you could easily make that seem like they're like a spoiled brat.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, no, you really are like, yeah, it seems really horrible to live with such pressures on you at all times by everyone to give off this, like, aura of, like, oh, I'm a high society lady. Like, that just sounds horrible.
Yeah, and like they do a good job of communicating that visually. There's no exposition moment. It all just happens visually as she is with her mother, and her mother tells her, we're going to be poor if you don't marry this guy, even if you don't like him. It's our burden as women to do that for our families, yada yada. Mm-hmm. And then, so she resigns herself to that. She tells Jack to fuck off. And then she's with the other prim and proper ladies looking across the room and sees a little girl being brought up just the way she was. And she doesn't want to have to do that for her children. She doesn't want to perpetuate the cycle, so she decides to go ahead and break it.
Break that chain!
Yeah. And so, again, film's a visual medium. And it's fascinating to see how he makes all these different pieces come together. Do you think this movie needs to be as long as it is?
I think so, because there are a lot of times where you think back on a movie and you're like, I feel like you could trim it here, you could trim it there, but what you really lose is the overall experience of a movie when you shorten it, especially this kind of movie where it is trying to really ramp up your emotions all the way by the end. And I feel like by taking its time and really just letting you kind of sit with it for a longer period of time than you normally do with a movie, it's just a different feeling. Like when you sit down, it's like when you read it, you get this feeling when you read books. Like if you take a long time to read a book just because you're really busy and like you get time to read a book every now and then, it might take you like a month to read a book, and then you look back on that month, and because you spent so much time with a book, you really like kind of like feel at home in that story. And that the same thing happens in a movie like this when it's this long. So I'm gonna say that like it justifies its length for me at least, and I'll say that about most James Cameron movies.
Yeah, he clearly is a director who likes to take his goddamn time. And again, he keeps selling millions of dollars worth of tickets. They're going to keep letting him do this.
Yeah.
That being said, it's still really fucking long.
Yeah.
It's like so goddamn long. It goes on for days. Like, you pick Braveheart, and then you pick this, and just like...
I forgot how long Braveheart is. I totally forgot how long
I'm so mad at you for, like, picking these, 3-hour epic things, and I'm like, oh, god damn it. And next week, I gotta think of a Christmas thing to talk about, or whatever. And it's like, son of a bitch. I wanted to pick Amadeus, just to fucking rub it in. But yeah, it is a very long movie, and I agree with everything you said, except I still think it's just such a long movie, and maybe, just maybe, they could have found something
maybe
to cut out of it.
Maybe you cut 15 minutes out. Maybe. 3 hours and 15 minutes, I'm looking at it right here, and maybe you can cut 15, I don't know.
I'd hope so. It's just forever and a day. I remember when this first came out, it was on VHS, and it was like I remember 2 box set VHS tapes. This was a 3 VHS tape thing back in the day. And you know why we got like animated Titanic movies?
Why?
Because parents weren't comfortable with the sex scenes in this. Draw me like one of your French girls.
Oh my god.
I love the look on Leonardo DiCaprio's face when she says, I want you to draw me wearing this. Yeah, okay. I want you to draw me wearing only this. Swing! This is like the scene everyone, like whenever they interview a female a female actress that's redundant. Whenever they interview an actress and she says, "Yeah, I'm willing to go nude for a movie, but only if it's artistic," this is the movie that every actress has in the back of their head when they say that.
Yeah.
And I find it funny because, like, every little girl in the world was just blown away by this when it came out. I remember, little girls I remember neighborhood girls sneaking into the basement to watch Titanic, because I had friends. I was over at their house, whatever. Sneaking into the basement to watch Titanic, even though their parents didn't want them to because there was nudity, and so that's why animated Titanic movies were made. And I remember the reaction of high school girls at the time was like, "Oh, I want a guy who will drown for me." So it's just the whole romantic thing people really get wrapped up in. So it was a well done cliche thing, if nothing else. And I guess if people are willing to sit through it, it's as long as it needs to be. I don't know. You take us somewhere else. Near, far, wherever you are, it's fine.
Do you want to talk about and the actors in this?
Sure, go ahead. Pick.
I really like Kate Winslet. She is really good in a lot of things. She was also really good in the Steve Jobs movie, but that's besides the point. I think she's really good as an actress, and Billy Zane as Rich Douchebag. Dude. Is he not just, like, immediately the most unlikable person in the world?
Dude, I love how they parallel him and Leo's character, because Leonardo DiCaprio sees a child in a hallway and, like, picks him up and runs with him. And this dude sees a child, ignores him, is told he's not going to get on a boat, and then picks up the child just to get on the boat.
Oh,
He's just completely irredeemable in this fucking movie, to the point of absurdity. So yeah, he is almost a cartoon villain at a certain point, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, this is the movie for a lot of people that, like, this is the movie that, like, personified Leonardo DiCaprio as, like, every person's dream.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's so funny because, like, for a lot of people, I feel like he kind of, like, fell into a role that Ben Affleck was in for a while, where, like, people thought of him as, like, an obnoxious, attractive douchebag type guy, but then people started to like him because they realized, oh shit, he's actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing kind of happened with Ben Affleck, where people, like, realized, oh wait, he's a really good director and he's making good movies and he's taking better roles now. Oh, this is actually kind of cool. I like Ben Affleck again.
Yeah.
But this is one of those movies that, like, almost could have set Leonardo DiCaprio on, like, a permanent, like, oh no, I only play romantic leads and stuff like that.
Yeah, it very easily could have been typecasting. It's weird because Leonardo DiCaprio keeps taking roles that are way too old for him. And like, he's in, his 30s? And he just keeps, like, playing, like, men in their 50s and all this other stuff. It's kind of funny.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, let's figure out how, like, because he played J. Edgar and all this other stuff. He just does that a lot.
Oh, he's 42.
Okay, well, I was close.
So, yeah, he is younger than that, but,
yeah. I don't know. I find Leo to be a good actor. Kate Winslet, she's okay, but she has a lot of trouble, I think, selling some of the physical performance of what she's doing. Particularly, Leo, too, particularly when they're getting in and out of water, because that's just another thing with this. I have no idea how Leonardo DiCaprio's character dies by the end of this movie, because he apparently had no problem being in ice-cold water at any other point in the film. They keep going up and down the decks and keep getting in and out of this freezing water when they're up to their, necks in it. And then they're just fine for a while. Then when he's just floating in the water, that's when he dies. I don't know, I found that kind of silly. And I think both actors had trouble selling... when they're on the ship, when they're in the water, it was good. But when they're on the ship, I think they had a really hard time selling the idea that the water was freezing cold.
Okay.
I don't know, they just... Kate Winslet does a little shaking and stuff here and there. I think that the water was probably, like, 70 degrees, and they probably should have made it, like, 50 degrees or something to really start to sell that. I guess that is something I'll criticize Cameron on from a directing standpoint. Everybody is clearly not cold. Just like, not just from an acting standpoint. Physically, you can tell none of the actors are cold. No one's ears are like red or faces, red or anything like that. You can tell it's all on a set kind of thing. So just more could have been done to make everyone uncomfortable.
Make them suffer, Did you know that while filming this movie, someone spiked like some of the food in like one of like the scenes where like everybody's like eating in like at like the one of like the party scenes or something like that?
No, I did not.
Someone spiked the food with like I don't know what drug it was. I think it might have been like PCP.
Fucking Christ.
And like it was like multiple like tons of people on the set were like drugged, and it's hilarious.
No, I was not aware of that. That's really funny. Okay then. Good to know. Hope no one was on probation. Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome. Anyway. Yeah, I'm about out of stuff. That was the last major thing I wanted to mention, is that no one was cold. Kubrick would have made everyone freeze.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that. I was like, yeah, Kubrick would have made everyone freeze to die.
So I guess James Cameron is just more of a human being than Kubrick is.
Yeah, he's like slightly, less of a sociopath, I guess.
I don't know, you got anything else you wanted to bring up with it?
I don't know. This movie makes me want to draw whenever I watch Jack draw, because I've taken a shit-tillion art classes in my life, so I could draw pretty well, and especially with charcoal sticks. I always really want to draw with charcoal sticks whenever he does this in the movie. I don't know.
Yeah, that should be your pickup line, Rasco. Hey, let me draw you like a French girl.
Babe.
No, let me draw you like a French girl should be your pickup line. Yeah. Drawing scene is really, really well done. I love the moment. I love how it ends by going in on Rose's eye and then coming out on old Rose. That's just a really fantastic shot.
Yeah, I literally I'm like watching that scene with the audio turned off, and I just saw that shot.
Rasco, quit jerking off to Kate Winslet while you're talking to me. It's pretty uncomfortable.
I'm just browsing through the fucking movie with the audio off.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on to ratings. Rasco, what will you give Titanic?
I would give the Titanic. I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 naked Kate Winslet.
Damn it, you took mine. Okay, fine. I will give it 4 out of 5 drawings of naked Kate Winslet. Okay. Anyway. Let's see. What are we going to talk about next time? Next time's holiday month. It's starting up. Okay, this should be fun. On December 1st, there will be an episode in which we discuss, God forgive me, the live-action Grinch film.
Oh, no!
Oh, should be fun. Okay. Well, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the King of the World!
Oh my God, why? And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.